back there trying to figure out if they're bringing in the extra chairs for us or Sue Bird and Megan Rapino. Is it us? All right, I love it. Thank you. Well, we're really excited to be with you guys today. This is an amazing venue, and thank you so much for having us. You know, oftentimes CMOs and chief technology officers get bad reputations as not having good relationships. And nothing could be further from the truth with Sathish and I, so it's awesome to be sitting on the stage together. I know I've got my perspective on why I love you so much, but why do you think our relationship works so well?
You know, technologists want to continue to prove themselves. Marketers are dreamers, giving challenges for technologists to prove themselves. Usually, as you said, historically in many other companies that I work for, you tend to lean in on external agencies and external companies that can move at the pace at which marketing folks want to move. And we took on that challenge, and Andrea was gracious enough to say, if you guys meet our expectations, we'll start moving all our tech deliverable in-house. And that's where it started. And I have to owe it to my team who started doing amazing things for marketing. And this year, to date, we have launched 47 campaigns, all built in-house. And all of last year, we had 7.
Yeah, you know, I think for marketers and technologists, there's an incredible amount of pressure to move at the pace of the consumer, to be constantly innovative, and to be on the cutting edge. And for us at Ally, we're a digital financial services company. And so as a full-scale digital financial services company and really trying to create better experiences, really thinking about becoming a usage brand, and thinking differently than the brick and mortar banks, the pressure for us around innovation is significant. And I think particularly in our 2 roles, you've heard obviously a lot of speakers talk about AI. You know, Sathish, how have you thought about where we innovate and when we lean in, and how you use technology to advance what we're trying to do as a company?
Yeah, it's been quite hard to put words behind what innovation is and how you think about it. But being a leading digital financial institution, the largest direct-to-consumer bank in the US, our customers expect innovation from us. So I have this triangle. I figured the best customer experience or adding customer value that results in some sort of business value for the company using cutting-edge technology innovation. So customer experience, business value, and technology, the intersection of that is where magic happens. And if you focus on all 3, innovation tends to happen. You don't have to go looking for it. You figure out all these 3 constituents work, and that's how I think about it.
Yeah, you know, we've thought a lot about the intersection of the consumer and innovation and technology, particularly as a digital financial services company. You know, Sathish mentioned that for me, there's incredible pressure not only to think about condensing budget and external expenditures, but also to move quickly and get to the market quickly. And the influx of projects that we've been able to bring in-house has been as a result of building out something that we call Ally Tech Labs. And we have partnered together on multiple projects in Tech Labs. We're going to show you one in a second that we call Creator Cash, but I thought it would be great if maybe you could explain to everybody what we've done within Tech Labs and why.
Yeah, it just started with the challenge of Andrea asking how fast you can move. And then we wanted to create something that was very scrappy, that we will build and show that this can actually work to our external customers. But we also had to be safe because you're a regulated institution. Then we thought about the 3 triangles, right? Customer experience, business value, and technology. Then we said, if you bring on a tech lab, how do they know if this is going to work? We had a 3-step process. One was the concept. The concept is you need to be building something that our customers can ultimately use, and it should be readily consumable. Then we went on to design. Design is actually testing it out with our customers. And then we scaled it. So with this notion of concept, design, and scale, within the context of identifying innovation using cutting-edge technology, we were able to move fast And that's where the Tech Labs was born, and it's been incredibly successful.
Yeah, so we saw this really interesting insight with regard to creators, and my guess is there's probably a lot of people in the crowd that consider themselves creators. One of the things that we've found to be true about our brand is that when people think about our brand as being more innovative, their likability for us goes up considerably, their consideration for us goes up considerably, and then our ability to acquire new customers goes up commensurate with that. So from our standpoint, innovation isn't just about like shiny objects and doing cool new things. There's a real business reason for us to be highly innovative. And one of the things that that we really wanted to lean into was this emerging creator economy. And if you think about how big the creator economy is, we define it as really anybody that is, you know, from an influencer on TikTok to a grandma who's knitting hats and selling them on Etsy. And we went out and did some really interesting research with this group and found that they largely feel unbanked, that there really isn't a place for creators. And as a digital financial services company, we felt like we could claim that space. We really could be the place that has the right experiences, the right ecosystem, the right tools for creators. And we did this research and we found out some really interesting thing. 50 million people identify as a creator. 97% of YouTubers don't know how to monetize and are actually living below the poverty line. And there about 80% said that if a bank spoke directly to me, I would be more willing to bank with that bank if they started to create experiences for me. And so what we did is we created a program. Ally Tech Labs brought it to life for us out of this notion of Creator Cash. And I'm going to play a quick video, and then Sathish and I will talk about it for a minute.
Love. Introducing Ally Creator Cash, a program designed to help creators gain new skills, earn rewards, and upgrade their creativity. Sign up for the beta at ally.com/creator.
So the idea behind Creator Cash was, what if we created a platform for creators to come to? We gave them lessons, and those lessons would unlock rewards. But we wanted to do it in a really unique way. So do you want to talk a little bit about what Tech Labs was able to do for us?
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. How many of you consider yourself creators here? Wow, look at that, just contributing to that 15 million count. We believe that organizations in the future will move from a product-centric organization to an experience-centric organization because of what we are all experiencing day in and day out, whether it is through your mobile devices or the technology or businesses adopting tech. So we said, Creator Cash, that the idea that you brought to us, Andrea, is going to be unique and in the center of the experience economy that we are all living in. Think about Uber, think about DoorDash, think about doing everything on your mobile phone. Everything is driven using experience. And it also gave us the unique opportunity to see if we can bring blockchain to life without talking about blockchain. So if we want to give rewards to creators and make it only theirs, then blockchain has this technology of trust that allows us to create this Creator Cash. So we used blockchain, we used our technology labs, and we quickly brought this to life.
Yeah, so we've got, we debuted it a couple of months ago. We're in an alpha stage right now. We've got about 2,000 people that signed up for the alpha, and we're going into beta now. And it's a really exciting idea. And you know, there's some things that we obviously learned through that, and we embrace oftentimes this idea of seeing around corners. It's a phrase that you and I both use a lot. What corners do you feel like you're kind of seeing around right now that are the most important?
We heard it from the previous speakers too. AI, for sure, right? Everybody's thinking about it. And generative AI, to be specific. Coming from a regulated institution, you can sit back and allow others to show you how technology can be adopted. But given the fact that we always want to be in the bleeding edge, our customers are expecting innovation, we wanted to figure out how we bring in Gen AI to our customers. but the technology is not mature yet. So we started with simple guiding principles, and the guiding principles was, for us to learn the technology, let's build it and use it towards our internal customers. And we will use it for our internal facing use cases. We will always have a human in the middle, and then we will not use PII, personally identifiable information. Using that notion and guiding principles, we started experimenting with Gen AI. And we also, what we did was, this is not a transformation that is limited to technology. The entire organization has to participate in this journey. So we created an AI training for the entire company, and we started bringing in people through AI days to start getting ideas from them. So for now, we have over 450 generative ideas, generative AI ideas, mostly coming from people outside of tech. We are prioritizing, again, using the triangle of customer value, business value, customer experience, business value, and technology innovation, prioritizing those ideas and figuring out what needs to work first. So let me stop on AI for a second and ask you, what have you seen around the corners, Andrea?
So, I mean, we've got this amazing blog that we launched called Conversationally. Conversationally is utilizing AI right now. We were one of your first guinea pigs from an AI standpoint. And we have taught the organization within my team to learn the prompts and to get really effective in terms of being able to use AI to go through content, condense content, develop content. We've seen an 85% increase in efficiency as a result of what we've been able to do and what you've been able to empower from an AI perspective. And now we've got about 5 or 7 use cases across marketing that we'll be implementing and really putting out into the marketplace that I think will make our speed to market increase significantly.
That was the art of it. Let me talk about the science behind it. Andrea talked about our relationship. What brings our teams closer together is, we all know generative AI is great at creating content. You could build a platform and give it to the marketing team and say, okay, here, go create your content. Instead, we brought our teams together in our labs, and we said we have built a platform called Ally AI that's going to allow you to build content, but you need to learn how to do prompt engineering. These are creators. You don't want to be sitting and learning prompt engineering. But sitting together and developing this capability together, you pushed us to say, how can we build our prompt engineering into the platform and make it easy for the creators? So what we learned was, you can have system prompts, you can do programming, and make it easy for creators to create content without having to understand deeply how prompt engineering works. So that's one of the reasons our relationship works.
Yeah, so speaking of kind of seeing around corners, should we talk a little bit about women's sports?
Oh yeah, talk about 50-50.
All right, so 50th anniversary of Title IX. Myself being a product of Title IX, I played soccer at Michigan State, who, by the way, #1 ranked team in the country right now. Let's go, go green. All right, love it, some Spartans out here. And so, look, we knew that for Title IX, a lot of companies would do things, tribute ads, things that just weren't going to be meaningful. And we wanted to do something really meaningful for the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And we really came up with this crazy idea. And we literally, this is how quick it was. We said, how much are we spending in women's sports versus how much we're investing in men's sports? And we did some quick back of the napkin math. And we said, we're falling right into the statistics that you're seeing out there, which is that less than 10% of our investment was in women's sports. And so I called Julie Foudy, and they were doing a conference, ESPNW conference this was a Thursday. I called Foudy on Friday, said, can we live stream into the conference on Tuesday and make a big announcement? She's like, sure, I don't know what it is. Hopefully it's not gonna get me in trouble, but let's do it. And we announced that for every dollar we spend in men's sports media, we were gonna match it dollar for dollar in women's sports media. And if you think about where we were 2 years ago at 90-10, and by the end of this year, we will be nearly at parity between our spend in men's and women's sports. And in addition to that pledge, we really kind of adopted this three-pronged strategy. Prong one was working with legacy media partners. So how do we push legacy media partners to give women's sports better time slots, more prime time, more accessibility to the fans? And that, I think one of the crowning achievements that I'm most proud of is that we worked with the NWSL and we worked with CBS, and we got the NWSL championship game moved to prime time in 2023, which was the first time a women's championship had ever been played in prime, which is crazy to think about, right?
That's awesome.
The second pillar is around supporting emerging media platforms, women-owned, athlete-led, and you think about the GIST, Just Women's Sports, Tobin Heath and Kristen Press's platform, Remedia, and supporting those platforms because they're building ecosystems to give access, unique access to women's sports fans. And then the third is really about putting money directly into athletes' pockets, and we formed a group called Team Ally. And Team Ally is a unique, diverse group of everybody from Sophia Chang, an artist who is really proficient in developing content around women's sports, to female athletes, like Sue Bird, Ashlyn Harris, et cetera, as well as people that are coaching and having influence within the sport. And so one of the big opportunities, Sathish came to me and said, how can we help? We love the 50-50 pledge. How can we help? What is it we could do from a technology standpoint that would move the mission forward? And one of the things that we found is that there was this incredible digital divide that existed, particularly between the legacy media platforms and these emerging platforms, these new platforms. And so we went to them and said, look, what if we could help you bridge that digital divide? You want to talk a little bit about what your team was able to do?
Yeah, sure. What Andrea, kudos to her. It's a big round of applause for what she's done for women's sports. You can see how power of leadership and the culture of the company can help transform a culture and community and break all kinds of ceilings. I'll touch about what we want to do from technology, but I'm being part of that culture. What the technology team has done is also trying to bridge the digital divide. Being a bank, we used to take all our laptops and go to a junkyard and demolish it, physically demolish it. Then we said, why do we demolish it? Why can't we make it safe and reuse it in Title I schools and people that want it? So we now, what we do is we clean the computers and laptops and donate it to people that are in need. Not only that, what we do is we go and teach technology over a 6-month period and say, kids who go through that 6 months of technology teaching would get to keep that computer. So teaching them a life skill and giving them a tool to go look for jobs. So being part of that culture is it's so proud, it's such a pride moment. From bridging the digital divide, when Gen AI showed up, I felt like the divide is going to become an abyss. Companies that is not able to invest as much in generative AI or in security will be left behind, and that was the conversation that you and I had, Andrea. So we said, specifically for women-owned small businesses, are we able to give our technology skill set, allow our programmers to go program, or build the capability that they are now able to bring their entire ecosystem into a modern technology stack? So that's what we're working towards.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, so is the focus that you've had on women's sports producing business results? And look, just a couple of proof points. First, in terms of the thesis behind why we did it. One, as Sathish said, we're a bank. We have a societal obligation to create economic mobility and to change the trajectory of people's lives through our investment. And so this investment in women's sports, one of the things that I hate is when people talk about women's sports as a charity. It was never that, and it will never be that. It was a great business opportunity for us to lean into what our remit is as a financial institution. The second aspect of it was that women's sports creates a pipeline of the next generation of leaders. And we know that empirically. 97% of women in the C-suite played sports and 54% played at a collegiate level. And so the business thesis behind the investment was incredibly strong. And when we kind of fast forward to where we are today, and we look at what that investment into women's sports has meant for us, we are at the highest level of our awareness in the history of our company. We are at the highest level of likability and trust in the history of our company. Our brand sentiment is 93%. We're a bank. People don't like banks. The category averages low to mid 30s, and our brand value last year grew. It was up 31% year over year, which was the biggest jump that we've had in 5 years, when the entire category was down 3% on the back of 3 major banking failures. So seeing around corners, I think being brave, making these kinds of investments, and moving to a space where you know there's very solid business rationale, I think from our standpoint has proven to be a good investment. And that's probably a good last area for you and I to hit on. Investment capacity. I know you've got a lot of drains on your budget all the time, and a lot of demand, and everything from cyber to building the core to innovation. How do you think about investment capacity as a chief technology officer?
Yeah, if I figure that out and write a book, it's probably going to be the bestseller. Here's how I think about it. If, as a technology leader, I start experimenting and investing in technology and that doesn't pan out, you're seen as a failure. If you're conservative and not invest in tech and everybody else starts using it, you're seen as a loser. How do you figure out when and where to invest? So that is this notion of concept, design, scale. How can you start small, move fast, and scale it when the moment is right? We invested in quantum because we wanted the technology team to understand how quantum works, but that is not a technology that has scaled or found a common problem to solve. But when the time is right, we'll be able to go and do it. And we have taken it upon ourselves to do 2 things. One is never to do technology for technology's sake. And number 2 is Ally is customer zero. Anything that we're building for Ally, we should be able to make the pitch to sell it outside to somebody else. So if I'm not building it efficiently, if I'm not using the right technology, and if it is too expensive for me to run, people are not going to come and buy it. That's why we were able to build Smart Auction for Ally, but able to sell it to enterprise and create fee revenue for us. So it's very simple guiding principles. You always have to experiment. Like you said, you have to take smart risks, but make sure that you're adding business value all the time. Let me turn the table and ask you that question. You have a limited budget, but you can invest in brand, you can invest in promotions, you can invest in sponsorship. How do you make that decision?
So for me, I'd like to invest 100% of it in women's sports, but I can't. Look, I think we really think about it in terms of kind of 3 pillars as well. And the first pillar is really around driving the business, right? If you don't drive the business, if you don't hit the numbers, if you don't acquire the customers that you need to acquire, you really can't do any of the rest of it. The second pillar is really around this idea of driving favorability for the company. What are the things that we're going to do that are going to make people more favorable towards our brand? Because we know when we drive that favorability, we have better levels of acquisition, and we have that acquisition at more efficient rates. But then the third is really around opportunistic and really saving a budget, because in this world of speed of consumer, in this world of intersection of culture with brands, in this world of the rapid pace of innovation and technology, if you don't occupy a portion of your budget for innovation and for investing in what's next, and be okay with giving your people permission to fail fast, then you never can really truly be on the front end of anything that you're trying to do. So those are the areas that I've really tried to focus the investment in. So
I would say it's also critical and essential to attract and retain talent. If you're not in the bleeding edge and not using cutting edge technology, people don't want to be working for you.
yeah, for sure. So I think we are right at time. Our helicopter is here. Thank you guys so much for your time and attention, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much.